Stevie Ray Vaughan was a force of nature. People said he didn't just play the guitar, he attacked it with his soul. But there was one strange thing fans always noticed. His guitars didn't just age, they rotted, peeled, and corroded faster than any other guitarist's instruments. It seemed like the finish melted right under his hands. Some joked SRV played so hard that even his guitars couldn't handle the fire inside him. Others thought it was just wear and tear from heavy touring. But inside Fender's workshop, builders whispered something different. They said Stevie's sweat wasn't normal. It was acidic, destructive, and unlike anything they'd ever seen. For years, nobody talked about it publicly, but those who repaired Stevie's guitars knew the truth, and it shocked them every time they opened the case. Because the same thing kept happening. A brand new guitar would come in, and it would look 30 years old in just a few months. Something was eating the finish, the frets, the hardware, like slow fire, and the question followed Stevie wherever he went. What on earth was this man made of? Fender would eventually reveal the secret, but before they did, the people around Stevie witnessed the destruction up close, one guitar after another. And the mystery only got stranger, because the more his guitars suffered, the more powerful Stevie's playing seemed to become. Stevie's beloved guitar, known as Number 1, was already a battle-scarred veteran before he ever picked it up. But after Stevie played it night after night, something unusual happened. The finish didn't just wear away. It dissolved. The neck darkened unnaturally fast. The frets turned dull. The screws rusted in weeks. Even the pickups changed color. Technicians thought it was because Stevie played with intensity, but they were wrong. When they wiped the guitar down, the cloth came away stained, as if the wood itself was sweating. Stevie laughed it off. "Man, it's just love. I play the hell out of her." But the builders at Fender weren't laughing. They were confused, even worried. They replaced parts, only for the new ones to corrode again almost instantly. At one point, someone said, "It's like his sweat is eating the guitar alive." It sounded like a joke, but months later, that joke didn't feel funny anymore. Number 1 looked like it had survived a war, and Stevie liked it that way. He believed every scar had a story. But Fender wanted to know why their guitar was aging decades faster under one man's hands. Something inside Stevie, something chemical, was changing everything he touched. Rumors spread fast in guitar circles. Techs whispered that Stevie had acidic sweat. Some even suggested he could destroy strings faster than any player alive. It wasn't just rumor. Stevie would go through multiple string sets in a single night. Rust formed on them unbelievably quickly. Pickguards warped, rosewood darkened unnaturally. Sweat stains didn't just mark the wood, they etched into it. Fans assumed this was exaggerated rock and roll mythology, but the luthiers at Fender were documenting everything. They began to measure corrosion on Stevie's parts and compare them to normal players. The results confused them. His sweat had a strange mix of salts, oils, and acidity that accelerated oxidation. It was like miniature chemical reactions happening every time he touched the guitar. Still, Stevie never slowed down. He wiped his guitars with whatever cloth he found. Sometimes he didn't wipe them at all. He didn't fear the damage. He almost embraced it. He said, "If it breaks, we fix it. If it dies, we get another." But the question grew louder. Why was Stevie's body chemistry so intense? And why did it seem worse when he played from the heart? Fender wanted answers, and soon they got them. One day, after another heavily damaged guitar arrived at the custom shop, Fender decided they had to analyze the problem scientifically. The finish didn't behave like normal wear. It bubbled in places. Lines and patches formed as if acid had flowed across the wood. They sent samples of the corroded hardware for testing. They inspected the neck under bright lights and magnifiers, and they concluded something shocking. Stevie's sweat had a uniquely high salt concentration, far beyond common sweat levels. These salts accelerated the breakdown of nitrocellulose lacquer. His sweat also carried higher than average acidity, which attacked the metal parts on contact. Some builders joke, he could age a guitar in half a tour. Others weren't joking. For years, Fender quietly made small adjustments when they knew Stevie was getting a new guitar. Stronger hardware, extra layers of finish, tighter seals. None of it worked. Stevie would play, the guitar would suffer, and the cycle would repeat. But one builder made a different observation, something more poetic. His guitar dies young because Stevie plays it like it's meant to live fast. And in a strange way, That felt true. His soul poured out through his hands, and the guitars simply couldn't handle it. Word spread among techs, musicians, and builders. Stevie Ray Vaughan could destroy a guitar in record time, not by smashing it, not by burning it, but simply by playing it with everything he had. When Stevie toured, his guitars aged before people's eyes. A guitar that entered a tour in great shape came out looking like it was pulled from a swamp. Refinishers began recognizing guitars that belonged to Stevie even before they were told. The smell, the discoloration, the rust patterns, all unique. The idea of acid sweat grew from rumor to legend. But Stevie didn't care about the mystery. He cared about tone. If the guitar gave him the sound he wanted, he didn't worry about what his body was doing to it. He once said, "It's just wood. What matters is what you put into it." But his techs had to work overtime, constantly polishing, cleaning, swapping parts, and repairing what his intensity destroyed. And here's the strange part. Fans believed the damage made the guitars sound better. They thought the worn necks gave Stevie's playing even more authenticity. Maybe it wasn't the sweat. Maybe it was the fire inside him. Either way, his guitars lived fast and died young. Stevie was known for giving more energy on stage than almost anyone, but his intensity had a deeper truth behind it. Stevie didn't just sweat. He poured out everything inside him: joy, pain, fear, memory, and love. His sweat wasn't just physical, it was emotional. During times of addiction, stress, and heavy touring, his body chemistry changed. His sweat became even more corrosive. Fender didn't speak about this publicly, out of respect, but close friends knew. When Stevie was fighting his demons, his guitars suffered the most. It was as if the struggle inside him leaked through his skin. Every night he played like it might be his last, and the guitars absorbed that intensity. Some techs said they could tell Stevie's emotional state just by looking at the fretboard after a show. The darker the stains, the heavier the night. When Stevie finally got sober, his playing became even more powerful, but the damage to his guitars never stopped. His sweat remained different. Maybe it was natural, maybe it was something deeper, but one thing was clear. His body, his energy, his soul, it was all raw, real, and overwhelming. Years after Stevie's passing, Fender finally confirmed what techs had whispered for decades. They revealed that Stevie's sweat was unusually acidic and highly corrosive. They'd measured how quickly it ate through finish and hardware. They explained that his chemistry was rare, something seen in only a handful of musicians throughout history. But while science explained how, it couldn't explain why. Fender admitted something more beautiful. The destruction made Stevie's guitars some of the most authentic relics ever seen. They said his wear patterns were natural relicing at its highest level. Nothing artificial, no sanding, no chemicals, just one man's pure connection to the instrument. Stevie didn't mean to destroy his guitars. He simply loved them to death. His sweat told a story of a musician who held nothing back, and suddenly fans saw the corrosion not as damage, but as proof of devotion. Stevie's guitars weren't just worn, they were transformed. As finishes thinned and wood breathed, his tone changed in ways no builder could reproduce. The neck grew smoother. The fretboard absorbed oils and sweat, becoming darker and easier to play. The pickups reacted differently as they aged under extreme conditions. Even the rust on the hardware contributed to the guitar's character. Some experts now believe Stevie's legendary tone partly came from the unique way his sweat altered the guitar. His guitars opened up faster than normal. Wood aged rapidly. Vibrations traveled differently through stripped finish. Every chemical change created a sonic change, and Stevie could feel all of it under his fingers. He didn't care about destroying the guitar. He cared about unlocking its voice, and somehow, the corrosion became part of that voice. Fender admitted they couldn't replicate it. No relic job, no aging process, nothing could recreate the exact chemical signature Stevie left behind. Only Stevie could create that magic, and he did it without trying. Stevie's guitar techs lived in a world of constant panic and admiration. They would open a case and gasp, rust overnight, pits in the metal, peeling finish, deep stains in the fingerboard. They wiped down guitars after every show, but it didn't help. Stevie could destroy a fresh set of strings in 45 minutes. Sometimes they replaced necks, hardware, electronics, but even the new parts suffered the same fate. Still, techs loved working with him. They said Stevie treated every guitar with kindness, even the ones falling apart. He talked to them like living friends. He always apologized when something broke. "Sorry, brother. Guess I played too hard tonight." But he couldn't stop. He played from a place of survival and truth, and his guitars simply couldn't keep up. They were witnesses to history, and victims of it too. Some musicians adjust their technique to protect their instruments. Stevie couldn't. He never learned to play gently. His entire identity was built on intensity. He attacked strings with heavy gauge sets. He bent notes so aggressively that frets wore down in months. Sweat poured off him in rivers when he played. He didn't hold the guitar. He pulled the music out of it. Techs begged him to slow down. Fender offered modifications. He rejected almost everything, because the day Stevie toned himself down, he wouldn't be Stevie anymore. He once said, "If I'm not giving everything, then why go on stage at all?" So the guitars broke. The finishes melted. The metal rusted. But Stevie stayed true to himself, and that truth became his legacy. When Stevie Ray Vaughan left the world too soon, he left behind guitars that looked like they had lived a century. They are displayed today in museums, collections, and private rooms, still stained, still corroded, still carrying the marks of the man who played them. Some people call the damage tragic. Others call it beautiful. Fender calls it irreplaceable. Those guitars aren't just instruments, they're diaries. Every rust spot is a night on stage. Every melted finish is a moment of truth. Every dark spot on the fretboard is a heartbeat. Stevie's sweat didn't destroy his guitars. It immortalized them. And in a strange, poetic way, those battered instruments still whisper the truth. Great music doesn't come from perfection. It comes from a soul powerful enough to leave a mark on everything it touches.